Alright guys, welcome back to World of Tanks with Red. And we have a replay here on Lakeville, sitting in by Radfort. Now, Lakeville is one of those maps that I think can be really fun, but you have to be really careful about how you play it because it has three main alleys. You have the middle road, which is sort of, in my opinion, not really a push way. You don't want to push tanks up that road because of how easy it is to get killed. So many people don't. It's usually used for tank destroyers, light tanks, and medium tanks to either spot, kill, or snipe. And you also have the city. This is an encounter match, so you imagine most of the enemy and friendly will be going city. And then you have the valley. Now, traditionally, the valley is probably not your best way to go. Radfort's gonna be AFK here for like a minute, so we're just gonna keep talking about Lakeville for a sec. And the reason Valley is not a great place to push into is because generally there's just usually a bunch of enemy tanks waiting for you on the other side. And because it's so small and it bottlenecks you, it's easy for them to get shots and kill you. But Radfort here, something to know about Radfort before he comes back alive, is Radfort is one of the most aggressive players I know, but also one of the best players I know. He has a real good sense when, can I take advantage of the situation and push where they don't expect me to push? Now remember, he's top tier in this match. This is a really big match for him. And I want to show you guys how Radfort utilizes this aggressive playstyle of his in opportunistic spots like this. Now, he pushed a little high there, and then he sort of, yeah, I don't know about that driving. Just go to the right of him, bud. Whatever. I think that move right there symbolizes this entire game, right? Just completely, like, riding on the walls. Now, you can see there is not much of the enemy team spotted. And mainly because I don't think there's any tanks of their team that are just extremely fast. So, we're actually moving here, and you can see Radfort's going to poke over this ridge. And generally, in most games, you would have expected something to have either spotted you or be shooting at you. And none of that's happening. So Radfort's probably thinking, well, most of them are not over here. I mean, he's not seeing anyone. So he's probably talking with his platoon mate here, Big Dog in it, also known as Tommy, who's in the Crusader SP, to say, hey, dude, let's just support me. I'm going to push over. And he's probably like, okay. But, oh no, SU-100. So SU-100's got the stock gun here. And that was able to bounce. It was a good angle presented by Radfort, if you guys can see here. He was sort of like this angle to him, and the shot was right there on the side. You guys can see it like right here. So it actually was able to ricochet. That was a very good angle on Radfort's part. If he'd approached more flat on, that shot would have 100% pinned him. Because even with the stock gun, he would have pinned him. But he's not going to here, right? Radfort's utilizing the mobility and the gun depression, the small profile of this tank, to minimize shots by this SU-100. And that's really good. I mean, that is a very clean play right there. But as you guys can see, more tanks are being spotted. And Radfort goes, well, I'll use the hills. Because T-34 2G, which is a Tier 7 tank destroyer from the Chinese, does not have good gun depression. The T-34-85 does not have good gun depression. The Scorpion has no armor. So he's utilizing these hills because he knows that these people cannot really fight him very much on these hills. Another good bounce from Radfort. And I think that was actually on his whole armor there. Oh, yeah. Where'd that shot even go? Yeah, I think that went like somewhere up on his side, actually. So again, it's this angle. He presented he's not presenting his tank at, enemies like this. He's sort of presenting it at an angle like this. And so the chances of an enemy bouncing and shooting here, either tracking him and doing no damage or hitting his side and doing no damage, is pretty frequent, actually. And so you have to think about that when you're playing tanks. I find a lot of people will just sort of go, oh, well, I don't need to because, what's the point? I don't have good armor. You can sometimes risk it. And with this tank, you can. So it's really good to do that, I think. Radfort's really showing some good plays here. Now, the KV-3, if you guys didn't notice, was actually completely stock here. And Radfort is abusing that. The top of that tank is, I think, very weak. I think it's like 20 or 30 millimeters. And he has a 90 millimeter gun, which means he basically overmatches that tank 24/7. I don't know if you guys can see, but his shots is... Platoon mate sent a shot in there. He's going to track him here. Or try to. And this KV-3 is messed up. I mean, he really has. He shouldn't have pushed over like this. Even stock. Yeah. Radfort's going to abuse him. And you see right here, Radfort again is presenting an angled surface. He didn't just present the front of his tank and back up. He actually angled while he was backing. It's this sort of armor awareness that's going to allow Radfort to have lived this game, because honestly, there's no way he would have survived it without bouncing those shots that he did. And you'll see here, he comes very close to dying. So now he has 3 more tanks on this side. And he's got a T-34 2G, which I don't know if that's the stock gun on that or if that's just the gun that comes with it. But that tank seems pretty scary. He's going to have to go in here because he can't just outrun him. He's on too flat of a surface. Too big of a surface. Tracks himself on the T-34 and he rams him for 6 damage. That's an awesome play right there. It's just knowing game mechanics. T-34-85 is coming around. Radfort's going to beat his reload. Just make a clear shot here and he's got him. Yeah. And an ammo rack to like clear it all up. Now that was an intense little battle over here, right? And again, if you guys look at Radfort's HP, if that KV-3 had pinned that extra shot, Radfort more than likely would have died. If the SU-100 had pinned his shot, he also would have died. So this is a point where I want to make that Radfort was able to perfectly sort of look at a situation, say, look, I can get into a position that's going to be hard for them to deal with, and then absolutely destroy, like, what, 3 tier 7s on his team, where he's the only tier 7. So basically freeing up the city for all of his tier 7 teammates and making a much better game. Let's go look at the results real quick. Now, while this game was really fun to watch, it's not an ace tanker game, just for the simple fact that he didn't do like 4,000 damage. This is a really good vehicle, the T20, but a first class badge is still awesome. He got the high caliber for doing at least 20% of enemy HP, which I think he got here. You guys can see, I mean, we can't see the modules, but he really was doing a lot of module damage, especially that poor T-34. He probably lost a couple crew members and maybe an internal module and some tracks. Radfort was obviously top on his team because he completely killed, like, I think, what, a third of the enemy team. And his platoon mates as well was able to get around 419 assistance damage. And considering how quick that engagement was, it's actually still pretty good. So good on him. I think they had a great game. Radfort, as you guys can see, 10 of 10. That's an awesome statistic to have. You know, he only missed 2 shots. I think those shots were, one was in the bush, and the other one, I think he had missed when he was firing at the KV-3 as he was coming up. Anyway, great little game. 800 damage blocked by armor, and I think it's just really awesome to see what you normally wouldn't see other people do. So I think the moral of this story is try to get a keen sense of when you can, because if Radfort had just tried to brawl all those tanks on that hill at that valley, he would have lost 100%. But because he pushed in, he was able to, you know, make a result that was worth something. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Come back and subscribe, and there'll be more tomorrow. See ya.